Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome back to a best of 5 series of top level StarCraft 2. Now what I've got for you today is a Protoss versus Terran, where in map number 1 we find ourselves on Everdream. Spawning here in the bottom left hand corner of the map, playing with the red Protoss probes. This man certainly is a channel favorite. He's one of the strongest players from Germany, and I think that's probably one of the reasons, because there's actually a lot of German viewers here watching these videos. We have none other than ShoWTimE. Now his opponent, would you look at that, apparently wants to start off this game with a little bit of a bang, already sending out an SCV towards what seems to be the other side. He's gonna start up a barracks. Playing for Team Liquid from France, we have none other than Clem. I believe actually, now that I mention it, I believe it was Clem's birthday yesterday. I believe I saw a Reddit thread of him turning 18 years old, if I'm not mistaken. Regardless, this guy obviously, one of the very strongest Terran players in Europe. And, well, apparently he wants to start off this series a little bit more aggressively. He's really looked very strong, especially over the last couple of months. I mean, I know I've been hyping up this man for like a couple of years now, it feels like. But really, like, he hasn't, like, spiked nearly as quickly as, like, for example, a Raynor, who I also was hyping up for a really long time. Obviously, Raynor, all of a sudden, like, became one of the very best. But, I mean, I was casting his games for quite some time before he really reached that level. There's no denying, though, that Clem is steadily improving over time. And I do genuinely think this guy is going to be one of the very best Terran players in the very near future. I mean, he already sort of is. I mean, he hasn't really won a lot of tournaments yet, but he certainly has that capacity. Anyways, this Reaper is gonna arrive a little bit quicker than the regular Reaper would. One engineering bay right here goes down as well, just to try and slow down the expansion timing here. Ideally, he wants to prevent the Nexus from going up in the first place until that Reaper gets out. Question is, will this happen? He does have the minerals. There it is. Yeah, so the Reaper is out in time, but sadly not before it can actually block that Nexus. Now, forcing out the Zealot does also delay that Stalker for a little bit. So that does mean that Clem should be able to get a little bit of work done here. I mean, as long as he micros, he should be able to stay alive quite easily. In the meantime, though, on the other side of the map, we do see that factory coming up as well. This was actually a super popular build for a little while. Great timing right there, by the way, by Clem. Gets out before the Stalker can come out. But this kind of opener was really popular for a little while, when Terran players would just simply plant down their very first structures on the other side of the map, and then they would still get the factory at home. Is he gonna get it? Yep, he will. Ooh, he made a slide. Slippery map, apparently, Everdream. This was really popular for a little while, where players would, like, go ahead and proxy their very first barracks and then still go for the factory and the starport at home. There's obviously not much of a reason for Terran players to put their barracks inside of the main base, other than, of course, if you want to produce a bunch of, say, like, Marines to deal with the follow-up that the Protoss players usually go for. Now, in this case, it looks like it's going to be that Robo, so no Stargate or whatever coming up, but you can be in a little bit of trouble if you don't have that anti-air. Looks like the Zealot will give its life for ire. ShoWTimE decided to stick around to try to see if he maybe could get the kill on that Widowmine as well. Widowmine's very annoying, but really, he's just trying to slow down this command center. You can see this is actually hurting quite a bit, right? Nexus on the other side of the map is already done. And the command center, I mean, it's still a work in progress. Okay, good zoning there. Widowmine this time around. I mean, it does manage to get to the low ground without, like, the Reapers, or rather these Stalkers being a really big pain in the butt. But obviously there's going to be a next layer to this attack of the Protoss player. He's going to now produce one of those prisms. Couple of additional gateways coming up. Warp Gate will finish up here in just a second as well. So I think, judging by the fact he already made a couple of Stalkers, that he wants to continue this harassment onwards with a little bit more Stalker action. Reaper did sneak out. Didn't really get that much info. One of the Widowmines actually apparently loaded up into the Prism. One SCV apparently giving a little bit of a touch-up right there for that Widowmine, making sure that it's going to be in top-tier shape. Reaper goes into the main base, sees everything. This is quite important. Knowing what kind of tech you go up against is really critical, because, I mean, for all he knew, he could be going up against, like, an Oracle that would be flying across the map right now. Here's that Widowmine drop, though. Ooh, it's just one Widowmine. Oh my god, he's focused. Oh my god, ShoWTimE. Ah, he was focusing probably all of his attention here on the other side of the map. Sloppy move right there by the German player, and that all of a sudden does now create an advantage here for the Terran. He was in a bit of a tough spot here earlier. Obviously, yeah, the micro here that you can pull off with a Prism is pretty insane. He can definitely deal some damage, but if this is handled well, I think that Clem should be able to stabilize into a really, really good game. Alright, the Viking is out actually. The Viking here, very, very helpful. Just shooting away at that War Prism. Looks like the Viking even stays alive. 2 mules will be able to go back to mining here as well. 7 SCVs though do end up going down. Did the Widowmine deal any more damage? I actually missed it, but I don't think so. Well, actually, no. He may have actually gotten a couple more worker kills there. Not bad at all. Oof. Prism there also ends up falling, but there are a lot of Protoss units now inside of the main base. Liberator will be sniped out of the sky too. Second siege tank is going to finish up here as well. Immediately target fired down, and while it looks like the boys managed to get us around, that was half decent there on some of those stalkers. This is a lot of damage that's being dealt. Now the Widowmine inside of the main base, man. This matter of fact has 8 health. Ay, ay, ay. Can you drop it? Hey, Clem, I know you're busy over there. Oh, got the observer as well. Can you drop this guy? There it is. Yeah, so he's actually got 8 kills right now. Not bad at all. Just being a nuisance. Just forcing the attention of the Protoss player away all this time. And you know what? He can drop it again. There it is. There you go. An additional 4 workers going down. That's the Widowmine that we all needed, man. That one Widowmine, it looked a little bit cheeky when he first sent that Medivac across the map with the one dude in it. But look at it. It's gonna retreat on back home as well. We'll see if it can make the journey all the way back, because it's quite a bit of travel distance. But Clem finally managed to get a siege tank in a decent position, and that does mean he should be able to stabilize right now and prevent these stalkers from getting into that correct position. Alrighty, so grand scheme of things, big picture. 18 workers were killed here by ShoWTimE, 16 workers were killed here by Clem. Third Nexus is coming up. Clem, once again, oh my god, you have 8 health on that Medivac. That was a little bit too brave, I think, but I mean, any worker right now is better. Oh my god, this is so annoying. Did you see him retargeting? He's just trying to buy as much mining time there as possible. Purposely retargeting the Widowmine to make sure that the shot doesn't go off too fast, so these probes cannot continue mining in the mineral line for that much longer. Alright, so not necessarily like a game-winning position right now for either player, actually. I thought initially that it was going really, really well there for ShoWTimE, and then I thought it was really well for Clem, and well, in the grand scheme of things right now, it looks like the game is mostly even. Protoss does have that advantage for the third Nexus. He also did buy himself quite a bit of time to get the Colossi out. So one of those laser giraffes is going to be joining the fray here in just a little bit, and obviously he's now also getting the extended thermal lens. That's one of those upgrades that's pretty tricky to get to. Just buying himself as much time as possible using one of those war prisms. It's the second prism, obviously. Third command center obviously was also built now, so yeah, not a bad spot here for either of these two players. I mean, this looks like a bad position here for the Terran player, primarily when you compare the worker counts. But honestly, I mean, mules are not to be underestimated, or not to be underestimated at all. Look at the income right now. For all intents and purposes, I mean, it's even a little bit of an advantage right now for Terran, but for all intents and purposes right now, it is going to be even. Another important advantage that you can get in StarCraft 2 is the upgrade advantage. So ShoWTimE right now has got 1 forge researching some of those ground upgrades. And then on the other side of the map, we do now finally see the double engineering bay coming up as well. Ooh, bit of a supply block as well. Apparently. I don't think that was intended. But he put a nice little head right there on that supply depot. But both players are getting their upgrades, and well, they were slowed down with all of those critical researches. It looks like they will be able to stabilize at this point in time. Alrighty. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the blink upgrade coming up here as well after this charge finishes. Extended thermal lens is done, and that does mean that ShoWTimE has got himself a really nice unit composition. He already got himself the Templar Archives too, so I wonder if maybe he wants to go for Storm here already, or if he decides to maybe go into Archons first. Depends on if you want to go for like a big timing attack, or if you want to, you know, try and macro. Now, generally speaking, ShoWTimE obviously loves playing that macro style. His nickname is Demauer for a very good reason. Well, first off, he's from Germany, so it's a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek kind of, you know, meme. But secondly, he also apparently plays like you're playing against a wall. So when you're playing against ShoWTimE, it apparently feels like you're playing against a wall. He's very, very resilient, very difficult to beat. So there's those glowy boys. Blink indeed is coming up. 1-1 will be finishing here in a little bit, but it's not done yet, though. Yeah, I don't think you really want to push yet. Ooh. Clem actually forced to push these siege tanks right in the choke point as well. That means that the bio units were trying to walk around. Okay, he's inching forward. I thought the timing may have been a little bit early, but I guess he feels confident enough that the slow push takes long enough for, you know, the Protoss player to back off that he can finish those upgrades. Takes a little bit of time, but there it is. Right inside of the screen, you can see the upgrades slowly finishing. There's Zealots inside of that prism, so no High Templar or anything like that yet. And here we go, he pulled the trigger. Oh, is he gonna commit? Oh my god, Protoss apparently wants to commit here as well. Seems like a bit of a brave move. 2 more siege tanks here in the back. One of them will end up falling here. That Colossi, though, like that Colossi army in general, dealing so much damage. Just zapping away at as many of these Terran units as possible. Clem, though, does manage to get most of these units out of here, and with him baiting the Protoss out in the center of the map, apparently he picked up and he's now trying to go towards the main base instead. That does mean he could even, like, push again through the center to watch that 4th base location with his reinforcing Terran units, too. Clem very scary when it comes to that multitasking. Gets 1 pylon here, but it looks like he wants to get out. Okay. So, 4th command center also did come up. There's a Ghost Academy coming up here as well to deal with those High Templar here in a little bit. I'm assuming at the very least that that will be one of the upgrades you will get next. No Storm just yet. Really forced to deal just with most of his army with just a couple of Colossi and then Stalkers and Zealots. 2nd Forge is coming up here as well, and then we can once again play StarCraft 2 trivia. Let me know down below in the comment section, what is this upgrade called and what does it do? Will someone get it right? I'm sure someone will get it right. Alright. Now this is a high yield Vespian gas. The Vespian geysers are really, really critical, especially for Protoss at this point in the game. You essentially want to get yourself an army composition that consists of as much gas as possible. Most of the time we see Protoss players dumping most of their minerals on just Zealots. Well, units like Zealots. Basically units that are cheap, but Zealots happen to be really good at worker harassment and building harassment as well. So that's exactly what he's doing right now. At the same time, looks like he's going to be able to clean up that little bit of a push there too. Zealots, though, will get killed, but at the cost of 7 SCVs too. So that brings the total up to 25 worker kills here so far. And actually, this army over here is far more interesting. Now, there's no Stalkers with this force, so no way to really chase down these Medivacs. I think most of the Stalkers, yeah, they were hanging out in locations where the Terran player might go in for a drop. Not one, you know, that would just appear in the middle of the map. So relatively passive follow-up here, right? Both players sort of testing the waters. Trying to make the best of this weird early game, right? This very aggressive early game. Neither of them really committing to a big all-out assault just yet. Well, I don't know if you want to go down that ramp. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. He actually stopped producing siege tanks altogether, so switching over towards Liberators right now, mostly. Getting himself the flyer weapon upgrades too. Zealots actually managed to get over to watch this newly acquired command center before it can turn into a planetary fortress. +2 will be finishing up here as well. Enhanced shockwaves now also done here for the Terran. Super important upgrades. It's one of the things that keeps being brought up in Twitch chat, and I think this is like a really common thing as well for like the casual StarCraft viewers. A lot of people seem to assume that Ghosts are underwhelming. Ghosts are one of the most powerful units, especially against Protoss. Not only can they obviously deplete shields, but also they can get rid of the energy of those High Templar and then also those sentries. Ghosts are absolutely phenomenal, and that enhanced shockwaves ability basically just makes EMP even stronger. So that's really the spell you want to look out for, okay? It's not that, like, visual, I suppose, compared to, like, Storm, but EMP is ridiculously good. It's one of the most important spells. They are moving forward. We're trying to land those EMPs. Not quite going to happen. In the meantime, a couple of Zealots are slicing away right there at the mineral line. This positioning here, though, is beautiful for Clem. Liberation zone set up on the ramp, forcing this Protoss player to go around. Not quite getting that many kills yet. In the meantime, also Zealots inside of the main base, and then still over at that 3rd base location too. Looks like the Nexus will live, but huge EMPs do land on all of these Protoss units. Oh my god, all of a sudden that Protoss army is completely without shields. A couple of the High Templar do move in from the right-hand side, but you can see one EMP, and this battle immediately changes. There's a Disruptor now added into the mix too. Another Disruptor coming in from the right-hand side, trying to land the Purification Nova. Does manage to get a nice detonation. The base has disappeared though. And in the meantime, I mean, the Zealots are still slicing away. They've killed 35 of the boys in total. Oh my god. This is just game number 1 of this series. Really, really good stuff. Ooh, a couple of Dark Templar now warped in as well. There's really not that much energy available, but there is enough for 1 scan at least. Dark Templar, very expensive. You can't just throw those away. Looks like the Zealots will be dealt with here eventually, using those Terran reinforcements. Great move there by ShoWTimE, but I'm looking at the supply, right? And, well, unless he gets a beautiful detonation here, I got a feeling there might just be a little bit too much Terran. Oof. Stop playing with my feelings like that, Clem. Oof. Alright. Yeah, ShoWTimE decides to GG out. And that means that game number 1 goes in favor of the young Frenchman. Alrighty, so here we go. Game number 2, we find ourselves on the map Golden Wall. Now, just because I was curious myself, I just quickly looked it up. I was wondering what their current world rankings are. So as of me making the video, ShoWTimE is the current rank 14 on the planet on Aligulek. So Aligulek, for those of you wondering, it's a statistics website for StarCraft 2. I've mentioned this many times in the past, but whenever I don't, I always see a couple of comments of people asking, Loko, what are you even saying? Aligulek? What is that word? It's A-L-I-G-U-L-A-C. Aligulek. Anyways, it's a statistics website for StarCraft 2 that basically keeps track of all of the online and offline tournaments that are being played, and then it ranks the players accordingly. It's not obviously the most accurate in the world, but it's basically as good as we have, right? I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that the number 1 will always win against the number 2, but it's a ranking, right? And it's pretty good. I've actually found it to be pretty accurate as time goes by. So I personally use that website quite a bit. But anyways, so ShoWTimE, as of me making a video, he's the current rank 14 on the planet, but Clem, despite me assuming that ShoWTimE would be higher ranked, is actually the current rank 8. Pretty impressive, man. There seem to be like 3 types of new players in StarCraft 2, right? So there's the player who you first hear of, and then they sort of like never actually grow into the player that you kind of wanted them to, or you expected them to. Then there's the kind of player that like you hear of, and then in like 3 months time, all of a sudden they are playing amongst the very best of the best. And then there's players like Clem, who you hear of a couple of years from, or a couple of years ago, and then over time he steadily improves and he gets better and better and better. And I think that might actually very well be the best way to be known in StarCraft, right? I mean, when it comes to like that second category, right? Like the player who you hear of and then all of a sudden they spike. I think Raynor is a great example. I mean, Raynor basically in like one of his very first years, like his first year or like his second year, I suppose, of competitive play, he immediately made it to the finals, the grand finals, that is, of BlizzCon. Ridiculous, and the guy certainly does not show any signs of slowing down yet either. But Clem, I mean, he's been quietly improving in the background, and I really expect this guy to be one of the top tier players as we go through the next couple of years. He's looking really good. Alrighty, so looks like both players are opening up pretty standardly, although I say that, and then I noticed the second barracks. I kind of anticipated this being a factory. No second gas yet either here for Clem, so I'm curious to see what he exactly wants to go for. On this map, it is pretty difficult for the Terran player to get a bunch of scouting information in. Unless he wants to go for like a sentry quickly and maybe like throw in a, I don't know, like an hallucination across the map, or go for like an oracle and scout with that, or, you know, even go for an observer. Protoss is kind of limited when it comes to their scouting tools in general, so I guess that this is going to allow Clem to go for a bunch of Marines early on, maybe a couple of Marauders as well, and then get those upgrades significantly quicker. We'll have to keep an eye out on exactly what he wants to go for inside of that tech lab. Command center, though, does finish up. There was already a bunker on the low ground as well. Jimmy running over there as fast as his little legs can carry him, because apparently there's like a, I don't know, like a 3 meter tall adept. How long are, or how tall are adepts? They seem huge. Right? If you assume that, like, say, like a Marine inside of its suit is like 180, like 6 foot, right? How tall would an adept be? I feel like adepts and stalkers are significantly bigger than you'd expect, right? I mean, if, hypothetically speaking, one of these Marines is like 6 foot, right? Then I guess stalkers are the size of a house. Have you ever considered the scale of units in StarCraft? I know that in the lore, they say that, I believe, Zerglings are the size of large dogs. So say if like a Zergling is the size of I don't know, like a husky, right? I guess, yeah, the size of a house for, you know, a stalker is not that far off. Makes them all of a sudden a lot more terrifying. Now, I know that units in StarCraft 2 multiplayer are not actually true to their scale in the lore of StarCraft, but still pretty interesting. Okay, now I love this. ShoWTimE mixing it up. This is a ridiculously quick third Nexus. He's gonna plant it down over at the gold. Now, I always get a little bit hesitant whenever I see players taking their gold base first. I mean, I do it all the time on this map when I play like Zerg versus Zerg, because, well, Zergs don't really have a lot of drop tools. The thing is he actually seeing this? Yeah, he did see it. The thing is, if you get like a bunch of Marines right over here, right? What are you gonna do? Like, what exactly will you do if you're ShoWTimE in that case? I guess he can try and defend it with, like, I don't know, Stalkers standing inside of the mineral line, but it becomes a disaster really quickly. So this is one of those bases that's forcing a response from the opponent. So that's, I guess, one thing, but I feel like Clem is perfectly comfortable playing aggressively, especially for this, with this opener that he decided to go for. This is, almost like a Zerg versus Terran opener, where he decided to go for, like, the 2-1-1. Not quite the same, but he does have now Stimpack already done at the 5-minute mark. And, well, oh my god, he's actually unloading already. He didn't see those Stalkers, but the star senses were tingling. He knows that the opponent might very well go in this direction. One Stalker falls at the same time. We do see one of the Medivacs going down. But Stimpack, man, at this point in the game, super quick, super early. The only downside right now, actually, hold that thought. These Marines are stranded here. They can't go anywhere. They're kind of stuck. They can't go anywhere. There's no Medivacs to pick them up. The minerals are not mined out yet. I guess he needs to wait for the evacuation to come up. Come on, Starport, produce them faster. Jimmy and his crew need to get out. The Stalkers are on the prowl. And you know what? While this is all going on, right? Golden Base is happily up and running. Now, Golden Bases in StarCraft 2, the most important thing to keep in mind with Golden Bases, I feel like some people really do overvalue the value of them in general. Golden minerals return 7 minerals a trip. Regular blue minerals return 5. Most of the time, what the difference actually is that golden minerals, they usually come in pairs of 6, whereas like the blue minerals come in pairs of 8. It essentially gives you the same income as a blue base, with less workers that need mining there. So basically you just want to view this as like a regular base that's mining, and you don't necessarily have to go all out when you see your opponent taking it. It just means that they can get a similar amount of income with a couple less workers. So it makes about a 6 worker difference. Anyways, nice set of force fields there. 1 shield battery here on the high ground too. One other thing as well that's, I guess, a bit of a downside, but it mostly just requires additional practice. Most golden bases only have 1 Vespian Geyser, so you get like this weird balance of gas and minerals as well, so requires a bit of practice to deal with. Now, I actually don't know if the golden base really is worth taking on this map. I'm not sold on it. I'm wondering where Clem is deciding to take his third. At this point though, I mean, it's been 3 base Protoss for quite some time here versus only 2 base Terran, right? So even when he loses a couple of workers here, I don't mind it at all for ShoWTimE. 2 Widow Mines, I think, are inside of that plane. Yep. They're bursting on over towards this this golden expansion right now. And how much damage is he gonna do? Oh my god, not again! 13 workers just like that! Yo, Widow Mines are apparently the stars of the show today. Clem is getting ridiculous value out of, well, I guess now in total, like 3 Widow Mines. I guess they eventually carried him to the victory, right? I mean, without those Widow Mines, or that 1 Widow Mine, rather, in the early game, without that hero Widow Mine, he probably would have been in a pretty tricky scenario. But it's going well for him now. He's also taking actually the gold base. Interesting. Transferred some workers there. Still did not mine any of these minerals. Now, by the way, oh my god, once again the drop. Ay ay ay. Look at the retargeting. He's just trying to like reduce that mining time for so long. Alright, so. It kind of feels to me like Clem has been in the driver's seat of these games for, you know, for most of the duration of it. I guess that's kind of ShoWTimE's style as well. He just likes playing the super passive approach. Is he gonna push now? I wouldn't mind him pushing at all. Couple of zealots inside of the main base. That does now open up the opportunity as well, yeah, for that big Protoss ball to move forward. Couple of zealots to the mineral line, please. Not a bad idea. Good force fields there. Great move by ShoWTimE, yeah. Should be able to, at the very least, prevent this base from mining for a little while. And every minute counts at this point, right? Every moment that this base is not mining, it means that the golden minerals give more and more value right here to the Protoss. I actually expected him to get more workers than just 3 SCVs. Doesn't seem that big. ShoWTimE also sticking around on a lower tier army this time around. And 1 Immortal, oh my god. Losing 1 Immortal here is actually super painful. Okay, good kiting here. Reinforcing zealots are now coming up as well. He needs a little bit of time to, like, be able to, like, heal up these bio units again. Additional war pins here as well. When is he going to pull the trigger, though? That's the question. Ooh, we are actually accidentally already wasted charge there. Most of these zealots are going to be on cooldown when it comes to charge. Ooh, man. Clem is just picking off units one at a time. He wants to bait these zealots over the Widow Mines, and it's exactly what's happening right now. Most of these zealots are already gone, and that means only Stalkers and then one Immortal remain. A couple of sentries are being warped in. That never is really a unit you want to get. I mean, this fight feels like it's really not that great for the Protoss, but it seems like he might be able to hold on here eventually. Nah, he's going to be forced to back off. ShoWTimE decided to go for what was essentially an all-in. It did not work, and Clem obtains the victory here in game number 2 as well. Alrighty, so here we go. We find ourselves on the map Nightshade. That's map number 3 in this best of 5 series. We do have a match point right now for Clem, so wouldn't be surprised if ShoWTimE is going to go for his safest all-round build order, because, well, the cheeky one, at the very least, the one that he went for in game number 2, did not quite work. Now, by the way, I can't help but notice that my scoreboard is actually flipped upside down. Hold up, let me fix it. There we go. This is one of the things that bothers me to no end. Now, I know, okay, I know you guys would never cheat on me and watch other StarCraft 2 commentators as well, right? All of you obviously only ever watch me commentate games. But in the hypothetical situation where you ever find yourself watching someone else commentate games of SC2. No, I'm just kidding. You can watch whatever you like. But sometimes, what I'm trying to say is other commentators, they have their scoreboard flipped upside down. So for me, I get bothered to no end when, like, the player that spawns in the bottom or the top section of the map is in the bottom section of the scoreboard and the other way around, right? So, like, this right here with ShoWTimE at the top of the scoreboard, but in the bottom of the map, bothers me to no end. I can't handle it. I can't handle it. Anyways, now that I've pointed it out, if you do decide to cheat on me and watch other StarCraft 2 casters, and they go for it, I will never do it anymore, okay? But if they go for it, at the very least, you'll be a little bit triggered and you'll think of me. Okay, no, Lowko, focus on the game. Yeah, I think this is probably going to be a very standard, straightforward build order right here from ShoWTimE. It's kind of what he shines at. That early Marine drop, though, worked out pretty well there for Clem. Probably anticipating his opponent taking the gold. Didn't really work out, like, great with, like, the Stalker dynamic versus, like, those, you know, those Stalkers rather versus, like, the Marines and stuff, because he lost the Medivacs, but the idea was really good. Command Center, though, eventually comes up, and in the meantime, on the other side of the map as well, we have Mr. ShoWTimE. Now, like I said, ShoWTimE's nickname is Demauer. It was actually a funny little moment like a week or two ago in StarCraft 2 on the European Grandmaster League ladder. It might actually still be the case. Basically, ShoWTimE was holding number 1 and number 2 on the Grandmaster League ladder, and both of these accounts were named Demauer, right? So just his nickname. And then for some reason, I think it was Raynor overtook... I think it was Raynor, yeah. Overtook ShoWTimE on the ladder as the number 1 player, and he actually changed his nickname to Demauer as well. And then a couple days later, we had, like, I think, like, 8 players out of, like, the top 12 that were all named Demauer on the ladder. I have no idea why. It's a bit of a meme. It must be an inside joke in, like, I don't know, like a Discord group chat or something amongst pro gamers, but they were all called Demauer for a little while. Now, since you can only change your nickname once a season, I guess they're gonna be stuck with it for a little while. So if you wanna have a look, European Grandmaster League ladder, you can probably see and find out exactly how many people are currently named Demauer. It is going to be a Twilight Council opener this time around. So you can obviously decide if you want to go for a Robo, if you want to go for a Stargate, or if you want to go for that Twilight. For a while, Robo openers, or rather Stargate openers, really were the go-to. Looks like there's quite a bit more variety right now. SCV can obviously also go inside of that Twilight Council. And this is just going to, you know, reduce the mining time for just a little bit. Shade, though, will be gone here, and that does mean that the SCVs can go back to mining. It's gotta be a quick Blink follow-up. Okay. Now, Blink obviously is Parting's favorite upgrade. I wonder if that's actually one of the reasons as well, right? Parting has been pretty successful over the last couple of months especially. I mean, other than, like, you know, the earlier stages of his career, I suppose. But Parting has once again become ridiculously good, and he's a big fan of going for that Blink upgrade really early on. He seems to do so every game, and I wonder if maybe that has inspired a couple of other Protoss players out there too. ShoWTimE, though, obviously will take the third Nexus. Pretty quick third Nexus once more again as well. It's going to be a cloaked Banshee follow-up here from Clem. Double tack lap here too, so probably will start producing a couple of those bio units here in a second as well. A couple of those upgrades, that is. But Blink will be coming up, and I don't really mind this too much, assuming that the Protoss player can get a form of detection out here as well. There we go. He's already started up the Observer, so he should be in a perfect position. He doesn't really know exactly what he's going up against, but it's become pretty common for players to go for both Blink and then like a couple of Observers as a follow-up. So usually you go for like 1 or 2 Observers, sometimes even 3, before you really start teching up. We'll have to see if he wants to go into like Colossi from here again as well. He's just scouting, right? He wants to make sure that he doesn't like lose against something stupid. I was secretly hoping it was maybe going to be a little bit more in your face. It's kind of cool when you like see a contra... Oh, he actually saw the... Did he notice it? Yeah, he did notice it. It's actually kind of cool to like see the contrast between the different kind of players, right? So that scout actually was absolutely perfect with the hallucinated Phoenix. He knows that his opponent is going to be sending that Phoenix or that Orc or that Banshee rather, none of those other units, Lowko. He's going to be able to like send that one into the middle line, but he's already got more than enough here to defend against that. That doesn't open up the opportunity here as well to hit him in the face, but it's cool to see the contrast between these different players. This is clearly a different approach in this game than what, for example, someone like Parting would play, right? So this Banshee getting 0 kills so far. There's already a Shieldy boy inside of that main base too. Hellion made its way towards the 3rd base. You know what? This is starting to become a bit of an issue though. He's going to be able to get rid of that shield battery inside of that main base. At the same time though, Blink on top of that siege tank. That does mean that one of them is gone. Second one taking a bunch of damage from that Immortal. Gunning it down, and good defense there by ShoWTimE. His defense in the main base looked a little bit more sloppy there for a little bit, but yeah, he's actually done a good job right now. I guess it was because he was multitasking and trying to deal with the fight over at the 3rd base instead. That Banshee also falls, so much better position right now for the German Protoss. He could definitely go for a timing attack off of this, right? Adding on 4 additional gateways, he's getting himself the Prism. Wouldn't mind seeing him actually go for a push here in just a second. Darren put quite a lot of eggs in baskets there in order to pull that off. Not all of his eggs, though. Just like 80% of them, okay? He still has some Easter eggs on the shelf. Gotta prepare those for, like, the upcoming weekend. But he, yeah, he is gonna be able to transition away from this. But, I mean, there's obviously an advantage right now economically here for ShoWTimE, who's had that 3rd Nexus for quite some time already. He's getting himself the charge upgrade. There's no Forge anywhere. So that's one thing to keep in mind here. 2 Banshees this time around joining in. 2 Banshees are enough to one-shot workers. They will basically... well, if you line them up perfectly, you can prevent them shield batteries from like healing up. He's getting quite a bit of damage right now. Those Stalkers blink to the low ground. And it looks like he's just sacking them. Yep, just sacking them. So that's 9 workers there. Nicely done. But how are you going to deal with this big all-out assault? Losing 2 of those units for free? Definitely a bit of an issue, right? Yeah, well, I guess for free. As in like 9 probes. But he's not really adding on too many more workers. Big warp in here on the other side of the map. This is certainly a push that ShoWTimE can close the game out with. Losing those 2 tanks earlier actually also super big. I mean, imagine 2 additional siege tanks for the defense here would be so much better. Guardian Shield? Guardian Shield. Okay, no Guardian Shield in that one. Alright, fair enough. He's just gonna bypass the 3rd base altogether and go straight towards the natural. I guess that he's smelling blood in the water. Good warp in right there as well by ShoWTimE. Manages to get all of those units. Beautiful force fields there. Slices off a bunch of those units. Although good pickup there as well by Clem. Evacuating some of those bio units to behind the force field wall. I don't think ShoWTimE is really going to let go of this though. I mean, he can continue warping in here. That Immortal helping out as well. A couple of reinforcing units do run down that ramp. And actually, hold up. Clem, are you holding this? No. Are you? Oh, it looked like for a second that he was. But I think there might just be a little bit too much Protoss. Couple of Zealots over at the 3rd base I would not mind, but I think that ShoWTimE just wants to close out this game right here, right now. I'm a big fan of the guaranteed advantage, so just like killing more SCVs here, pretty much always the better choice if you want to win in the long run, but I think that ShoWTimE, well, I mean, he wants to see if he can obtain the victory right here, right now. Yeah, pushing up that ramp, especially with Widow Mines and stuff there, super difficult to do. Trying to evacuate some of those units that are being hit. Widow Mine does get killed as well, and I think, I mean, now the Terran is once again stuck in the natural. I think that this is most of that Terran army forced into the main base. this should be game over. Should be. Emphasis on should. I mean, Clem is known to pull rabbits out of hats, especially with those eggs he didn't put in the... Okay, Loko. Enough with the Easter references. Yeah, here we go. This is what I mean. Like, this would be a much safer, safer choice. Just kill whatever you can get here. Snipe the units at the third base. The boys from the main are also pulled, actually. So apparently this is going to be a last hold here for Clem. He's trying to get rid of those Protoss units on his doorstep, but I've got a feeling that there might just be a little bit too many of them. 19 workers fall. 19 on top of the ones that already fell earlier. Right now, there's only a couple of the boys remaining. Mules are good, okay, but they're not that good. GG is cold. And ShoWTimE obtains the victory in game number 3. Alright, so the next map is indeed Eternal Empire. Map is pretty normal, obviously. Nothing out of the ordinary. Pretty standard, all things considered. Looks like a, just a solid, straightforward macro map. I mean, there's certainly room for, you know, for all-ins and stuff. For example, every once in a while we see Terran players like trying to abuse this relatively large ledge over here. Try and get as many units inside of the main base of the Protoss as they can early on. But Protosses have gotten very good at walling off. Walling off, obviously, in StarCraft 2, not as hard as it is in StarCraft 1. I don't know how many of you have played StarCraft 1, but in StarCraft 1, like, walling off is literally a science, okay? I'm pretty sure there's a Protoss player out there that has, like, a PhD in walling off, okay? It's probably harder than the average PhD. Okay, maybe not quite, but really, like, in StarCraft 1, you have to have all of your units in the perfect location. You can't really mess up anything, and you have to know it for all of the different spawn locations as well. So StarCraft 1, there's also like a bunch of 4-player and 3-player maps and stuff. Pretty uncommon at this point in SC2, but yeah, for StarCraft 2, it's a little bit easier. You can finish off this wall with like what's it called? A cyber core right over here in the choke. The only thing that you have to do, and this is one of the things I personally always forget, is set that rally point for the first gateway so your unit doesn't accidentally pop up over there, and then it's stuck there for the rest of the game. This is like the biggest noob error ever, okay? If you do that, don't worry. Pro gamers do it every once in a while too, but you just gotta get into the habit of setting that rally point right away. Oh my god. Imagine like a stalker sitting right over here. That would be so sad. ShoWTimE going for the expansion on the low ground. Likewise, once again, also trying to slow down his opponents. So just trying to... Wow. Whoa. Losing the worker there? For free? Alright. That's a little bit sloppy. Most of the time it will end up going down to that Reaper if it decides to stick around for that long, but... I mean, obviously you want to try and get an additional scout in. That's a little bit, yeah, a little bit unnecessary, right? Ideally you want to know if like the second gas is taken, if they decide to go for that second barracks early on again, or if they will go for a factory instead. It's pretty important to know such things. Screen bugged for a second, ready? Oh. The screen bugged for a second? What does that mean? You should use some of that prize money, Clem. Get yourself a good monitor. Actually, that's one of the things that's always very important at StarCraft 2 tournaments. I remember at some point, tournaments started switching over to like 1440p screens at 144 Hz. Now, pro gamers are big fans of 144 Hz, okay? Most of them will not participate in tournaments, in offline events, that is, if the screens are not at least 120 Hz. So the refresh rate is a little bit higher than those of like standard monitors. But even at like 1440p monitors, so a resolution of 2560 by 1440, oftentimes a lot of them still actually prefer playing in like a 1080p window. So a lot of monitors these days are 27 inches. So I think personally the sweet spot when it comes to monitors is 27 inch, 2560 by 1440 resolution at 144 Hz. That seems to be the sweet spot for like gaming for me right now. But a lot of them, I mean, while they do want to play at 120 or 144 Hz, they will actually still want to play at 1080p instead. So oftentimes at tournaments, I walk around the player area and a couple of them are sitting there with like big black boxes around the outside. So like the 27-inch monitor is basically made to look like it's like a 24-inch one, and they're not really utilizing the extra pixels because they're basically just off. Anyways, there's a little bit of StarCraft 2 trivia for the day. Oracles though, this time around, the weapon of choice. This is not something that the Terran player really knows about, but he did manage to get himself a couple of Hellions. So nice variety here by Clem. The wall off over here though, really important. And he actually also now got the third Nexus up. So that third Nexus did not get delayed whatsoever. While you would imagine building, or like, you know, little structure or little cars rather that spew flames would be good against structures. Not quite the case, because apparently Protoss structures are not flammable like that. They don't use regular, you know, peasant technology. They have like, I don't know, beautiful structures that they use to warp in these things. At the very least, flames don't really deal a lot of damage to them. That does mean, once again, though, that Clem is going to be the one who's going to have to decide the pacing of this game, as Protoss is going to sit back and just happily macro up on 3 bases. He's looking for Widow Mines right now, making sure he doesn't really lose anything. Sees the additional barracks coming up here as well. Nothing out of the ordinary. No Widow memes anywhere. Ugh. Ugh. Oh, ShoWTimE. Alright, he gets 1 worker there eventually on the way out, but look at all these low hit point SCVs. Should have been at least 1 more. Yeah, there's like slightly sloppy moves here by ShoWTimE. They're like not even significant, but they're significant at this level. You know what I mean? Like, 1 worker there doesn't make a big difference, but it's gonna add up. It's one of those small things that adds up. You can just notice in this series so far a little bit of sloppiness. Phoenixes, come on, you saw him. You saw him on the on the minimap right there. Your oracles literally flew by him. Okay. There's already that 1 shield battery set up though. So I think that this Banshee might be able to get out, but this is another good example. I feel like that Banshee shouldn't have gotten out, you know? Like, the Oracles should have gotten the tag when they first flew by him, and then the Phoenixes should have chased down the Banshee. It's small moves, but it would have been 1 Banshee less to deal with. Clem on the other end. I haven't really caught him making very many mistakes at all. Seems very, very in point. Really not slowing down whatsoever here. Just getting better and better and better. I like the fact as well that he's actually mixing up his openers quite a bit. Not really going for the same strategy every time, but just playing it slightly differently. Just keeping the opponent guessing, right? If he manages to get into the mineral line, that would be huge. There's 1 of those stasis wards in the front. Is he gonna commit? There they go. Oh, ooh, that was almost... Okay, he saw it? Really? Wow. You have to be so... Like, you have to be really close at paying attention to that. Nicely done. Apparently the Reaper. This guy was like, guys, remember when I was the only army unit? Now you're just sacrificing me to a freaking stasis ward? It's a little bit sad. How many Phoenixes does that make, by the way? It's going to be 4 Phoenixes here in total in just a second. Phoenixes are great when you're like playing against someone who's going heavy siege tank. But it looks like it's just going to be 2 tanks right now for the time being. Phoenixes obviously can lift up those tanks as well, but the Widow Mines they have a little bit more trouble with. The nice thing about Stargate openers is that you can usually defend these kind of timing attacks quite well. Assuming you can, you know, you can find the APM to properly deal with all of the multitasking of the Terran player here as well. This is mostly just buying a lot of time though for, actually there's a Banshee over here again. Got 0 kills, man. Sad. But it's mostly just buying time right now for Clem to get that 3rd command center up and running. Scan over there will... Oh my god, really? Wow, there's vision on it. He does have... Wait, didn't he have Revelation on it? I thought he had Revelation on it. Anyways, this will now allow him to get into a bit of a better spot with those tanks. Zealots, though, just charge forward, and this is the lift that I'm talking about, right? Those lifts are so annoying to have to deal with. Oof. Decent Widow Mine connection there. At the same time, though, remember those Hellions? They're trying to get done whatever they can. 1 shield battery from the right-hand side helping out as well, but that's still 8 workers going down here. 9 probes in total. Gets the Widow Mine. Nicely done there by ShoWTimE. But now the worker count all of a sudden has completely evened up, and ShoWTimE is going to fall behind here economically because of those yellow mining machines. Wouldn't be surprised to see additional barracks coming up here in just a little bit too. Still just producing off of 3 here. Alright, so the thing about playing this style that ShoWTimE is playing, right? Playing defensively is great. If you manage to play defensively and do it perfectly, you will ultimately get a hit because, you know, you don't take damage and the defender's advantage is significant in StarCraft 2, right? Just having your unit spawn close to the battle, really, really nice. However, it's gotten a little bit sloppier in these games so far. I don't know if that's because of his opponent got better or maybe he just felt a little bit off here, but You can't really let anything slip through the cracks, is what I'm trying to say. Like, the style that he's playing is not very generous to small mistakes. Robo Bay coming up right now as well, so he'll probably go either into Disruptors or Colossi in just a sec. Not really a lot of splash damage here yet for the Protoss player, so... No 4th Nexus either. Here comes the Medevac drop inside of the natural, but that's where the Phoenixes were hanging out, and that's a great catch. Beautiful move there by the ShoWTime. Great force fields over here too. But I was gonna say the German Protoss. The ShoWTime. I said with a little bit more of a German pronunciation as well, just to stay in the theme, you know. All right. Looks like there might finally be enough Protoss units to get rid of this, and well, those Phoenixes lifting up some of those retreating Terran units as well. Nicely done. Picking up whatever he can. Zealots with that speed upgrade, obviously very helpful. Just charging forward, and I don't know if he really ever wants to retreat with those, man. I feel like, yeah, you need to go home at some point, my man. There he goes. All right. Great engagement there by ShoWTimE. He's got to go into those Disruptors. Second Disruptor coming up here too. The nice thing I like a lot about Disruptors is that they can be EMP'd. So Ghosts are already being produced. Obviously still great at dealing with some of these units. But look, that's also, once again, a little bit sloppy, right? A little bit sloppy. Oof. Widowmine does connect, but the Zealots charge at the Widowmine, which is a little bit unfortunate too. Good force fields there though. 4th Nexus does come up, but the 4th Command Center already flying on over to that low ground position. In the meantime though, there's that prism inside of that main base. ShoWTimE trying to get back into this. Obviously one Disruptor hit can change the tide of battle really quickly. I know all of us are really good at like running our bio units into Disruptors, but generally speaking, we don't see the huge detonations at this level of play. Planetary Fortress coming up on that low ground, obviously. Really good position for one. And these high grounds, though, they are great, right? The high grounds are really nice if you're trying to hold on to this position. Clem just constantly kiting backwards. Prism inside of the main base. Okay, we'll stay alive. It looks... Oh, my God. Is this the end of the map? Oh, my God. I think that's the end of the map. Okay, so the Prism does fall. That's rough. Yeah, I don't think you can fly any further. Well, it looks like you can fly a little bit further. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, apparently Ghost can reach that, though. Pretty painful there. Losing Prisms is so annoying. He's immediately forced to remake it as well. How many Disruptors does he have right now? He's got 5 of these bad boys. Okay. So Disruptors are one of the best tools for, like, getting back into a game of StarCraft 2, right? Just landing one detonation can turn the tide of battle really quickly. Clem right now, though, is maxed out. And he hasn't really taken one of those big Disruptor hits in a while. There's one of them. Ooh. Got one Ghost. You can't kill a Ghost. Did she just say you can't? But you're literally dead. Anyways. Big, oh my God. Big Doom drop apparently now heading towards that, that natural? Oof. The Phoenixes though, they do catch this. Is he just gonna, yeah, he's just gonna start unloading over here now. Alright. Bit of a risk there. I think he probably wanted to try and see if he could get to the natural. At the same time though, the units that didn't fit inside of that, that medevac wall apparently now, or medevac group rather, they are now moving across the map. At the same time, Zealots apparently have been sent back here. Nah, they're gonna be sent towards that base instead. Maybe a bit of an all-army hotkey there. Looks like we did have a nice Disruptor detonation, and ShoWTimE once again holds on. Nicely done there. Getting himself the Dark Shrine, getting himself additional upgrades. Okay. This is a huge concave though here for Terran, yeah. I don't know if you can really fight there. Zealots will be cleaned up over here too. I kind of wish ShoWTimE was playing a little bit more aggressively. I've recently become a much bigger fan of like the style that like Parting and for example Zest play. Zest is looking ridiculous. I think he's widely considered to be the best Protoss in the world at this point. He just is so more, yeah, he's so much more active, I guess, with his units, you know what I mean? Like, he's just a lot more timing attack oriented. And while I, on paper, don't mind the style that ShoWTimE is playing here, you have to be super clean. You can't make any mistakes. And there's been a couple of those so far. And Clem is just the one constantly in the driver's seat, and now it only takes one mistake here from ShoWTimE before, like, this game is over. Now, I know he's maxed out. I know he's got a lot of units still. But it's so easy to accidentally make a mistake right now. Speaking of mistakes, Disruptor's always good at that. Good defense, though. Good defense here. Just starting to be a little bit worried. The Liberator transition is coming up here as well. Liberator's obviously absolutely amazing. They're going to be very helpful. Sonic Storm finally coming up. Additional gateways now also being produced. And ShoWTimE does manage to go up to 5 bases. So that's kind of his bread and butter, right? When he gets here, that's usually when he feels far more comfortable. But this is already a Terran player who's now going up towards a ridiculous amount of command centers too. Oh, good EMPs. Great dodging there as well, though. Oh my god, well, I say that, and then one big detonation right over there. But now with the Disruptors gone, right? The Disruptors all got concussive shelled. All of a sudden, this Protoss army is not looking nearly as menacing anymore. He's got no splash damage. I mean, he's got one Archon. And I guess he's got High Templar that will have Storm here in a little bit, but not yet. Disruptors are coming up once again, too. Obviously, Clem doesn't notice, though, so he's playing really cautiously. A couple of Dark Templar now also made. They're going to be pretty helpful in some of these engagements if the Terran player is not scanning ahead. High Templar with Storm. Done in 5 seconds. Oh my god, the Prism fell! The Prism fell with 2 of those bad boys inside of it. Quick targeting right there by Clem. That means only 1 Storm. 1 Storm! What's 1 Storm gonna do? Oh my god, huge EMPs land on all of those Protoss units. Clem is looking ridiculously good here. He did take some bigger Disruptor hits than he probably should have, but if he can snipe this base, and there it is, he's gonna be in a really good spot. Protoss did take another base in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. Disruptors are once again coming up, but Terran units can run away in time. Ooh, good splits. In the meantime, Clem has also expanded all towards that top left-hand corner instead. And reinforcing Terran units should be very helpful here. Now, Protoss is still holding on, right? But he's holding on by the skin of his teeth. He needs to get that unit composition going where he has several sources of splash damage, or he needs to get like a great Disruptor hit. Ay, ay, ay. Great play there by Clem. So difficult to do that while also macroing at the same time with everything else, right? That means that all of those Disruptors are currently on cooldown. I think that the Team Liquid player is smelling blood in the water. Great splits again! Gets rid of that Disruptor Purification Nova as well just by running all of his units out of it. More Novas are coming forward. Liberation zones are set up everywhere right now. Can he get these High Templar? High Templar come completely unprotected from the right-hand side. What are they doing here? Oh, no. And it's going from bad to worse right now for ShoWTimE. He's staying in this game. He doesn't want to GG out too early, but I am pretty sure that that is all she wrote. Clem looking very, very strong in this series. He manages to obtain the victory in a 3-1 fashion. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Don't forget to smile. And I'll see you once again in the next one.